This has been an incredible year, though unfortunately not in the best sense of the word. We've faced crisis after crisis, and today I just want to briefly touch a few of them. Well, first, Gaza and its spillover effects. Frankly speaking, I've never imagined this conflict in Gaza could last this long. Not only has it persisted, but it has also spread across the entire region. The Security Council, meanwhile, has been unable to function on this issue due to multiple vetoes by the US.
Those against?
Those against?
Those against?
Even after Resolution 2735 was adopted, a large portion of its provisions has yet to be respected. As I've said before, any resolutions that endorsing a deal that yet to be reached is bound to be problematic. They changed some terms in this resolution. Would the Security Council vote it again, or they just make amendments to this resolution? Because this is a resolution already.
As you know, the members of the Security Council are in charge with the implementation of the resolution, so it's up to them to consider how these resolutions are being
because if the deal is not the one mentioned here, they might say we're not fully implemented the resolution, right?
That's speculation to ask the members of the Security Council, not me.
With the Security Council at a standstill, the General Assembly stepped in, passing multiple resolutions urging a ceasefire and release of hostages. It also granted Palestine additional rights. And then we witnessed this.
You are shredding the UN Charter with your own hands. Yes, that's what you're doing, shredding the UN Charter.
In response to the ambassador, here's Farhan Haq, deputy spokesperson for the Secretary General. Do you feel uncomfortable to see that image in the TV?
I've been around here a long time. I've seen a lot. Look, and all I can tell you, look, that was a charter. There's many charters. There's one right here. The charter is intact. Its ideals are intact.
You resurrected it. Nevertheless, Palestine is now seated among member states.
I request you to confirm with the Secretariat that His Excellency Ambassador Riyad Mansour, the distinguished permanent representative of the State of Palestine, is seated among the member states accordingly.
I have been informed that all arrangements have been made to have Palestine seated where it's supposed to sit.
I feel great. This is a historic moment, and it is a significant step in acquiring our right, a legal right and natural right to become a full member.
The spillover effects of the conflict are equally troubling. Israel launched military operations also on its northern border against Hezbollah, and one tactic, the shocking pager's explosion, caught the world's attention. There are a lot of speculations on, the communication device explosions. Can you confirm whether Israel is behind this or not?
So we are not commenting on the specific attacks you mentioned, but I can tell you that we will do everything we can to target those terrorists, to minimize casualties to civilians, but we prefer the diplomatic way.
And now we know who was behind it. Minister Netanyahu of Israel has already acknowledged that he's behind it. So how would this investigation go? And can we hold anybody who's behind this attack accountable?
I think, accountability, sadly, sometimes takes quite a long time, but accountability is always needed.
At least with the ceasefire deal now in place, we can only hope it holds. Okay, second, Syria. In a surprising turn of events, the rebels ousted Bashar al-Assad and took Damascus in just 11 days. But a major question remains unanswered. How should the international community address Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, a Security Council designated terrorist organization?
So the Security Council considered delist the terrorist group.
We will try. I think it is important that we try our best to prevent and resurgence of the terrorist groups.
Well, the U.S. considering delisting HTS as the terrorist group so far.
Look, they remain a designated terrorist organization.
Then how would this play out?
Well, let's let it play out and let's see. We're going to judge them by their actions, but they remain a designated terrorist organization. It's still in place right now.
And let's not forget Israel's military operations now in Syria. During the last couple of days, they actually targeted 320 Syrian military targets, which including the whole Syrian Navy fleet. What is the Secretary General's position on this kind of action there?
I think, for sure, Mr. Pedersen addressed that this morning. It is very clear that we stand against any violation of the territorial integrity of Syria. We're against these types of attacks.
Beyond that, the Ukrainian crisis and the humanitarian disaster in Sudan continue to demand attention. And meanwhile, during High-Level Week, we saw the adoption of the Pact for the Future and bid farewell to U.S. President Joe Biden in his final UNGA speech. With so many crises unfolding around the world, one has to ask, can the UN truly handle it all?
Does the UN have pressure this year to tackling so many crises around the world?
This has been almost an unprecedented year for the United Nations. We've had to deal with so many different crises, short-term crises, conflicts like the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, what's going on in Syria and Lebanon and Sudan. But also we have to deal with the longer-term crisis, climate change. Things are not going the right way. The fact that we were not able to seal a deal on the plastics treaty. We're seeing the rollback of human rights, of women's rights in so many places. But that is not to say we are overwhelmed. I think this organization, under the leadership of the Secretary General, has been ready and is tackling all these issues. But we can't do it alone. We need the member states to work together to help us all move in the right direction.
Hopefully we can move in the right direction in the coming year.
Very much hopeful.
I've always said there's a common feeling you get from reading National Geographic and reporting on the UN. Well, you just feel like the world is doomed, but in entirely different ways. You know what? I've come to believe that no news is good news. So let's hope in the coming year it brings fewer headlines, at least fewer bad headlines from the UN and beyond. So I guess, Happy New Year